Thank you. I still remember the smell of burning petrol. And I still recall the burning equatorial sun on my back as I crouched down behind an old van, hiding from military personnel and men with armed guns. I recall having a moment to ask myself, what am I doing here? Am I the one for this? Is there a safer way? See, it was August of 2009, and the Sri Lankan government had just ended a bloody, heinous civil war with the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, or the LTTE. I am from Sri Lanka. This is my motherland. And the LTTE was fighting for their rightful place on the northern part of the island. And this went on for 26 years. Now, the images that were coming through from CNN and Al Jazeera and the BBC was deeply disturbing. And here I was sitting in the comfort of my own home in Southern California on my couch, watching this all unfold, while the Sri Lankan government was taking all the Tamils in the affected areas and putting them into internment camps. Now, this was a deeply unsettling and disturbing time in Sri Lanka. Why were these Tamil people being put into internment camps? Well, the government's side of the story was that they were trying to weed out any possible terrorists. Whereas the Tamil diaspora and other agencies felt that this was further marginalizing the Tamil people and could possibly cause another war. But I couldn't just sit there at home and watch this unfold. I had to do something. I had to be a part of this in some way. It was too difficult not to. It was too painful not to act. So I went. I had some friends gather some resources together for me. I started a running blog to keep everyone informed and on the ground. My family was not thrilled, but I had to go. I went. When I got to the camps, I cannot tell you exactly what camp it was. There were several camps, in various zones. But when I got to the camp, I had to disguise myself as a young boy. Apparently, I looked like a dude because it didn't take too much to disguise myself, other than tuck my hair under a baseball cap and, tweak my mannerisms a little bit. And I had a security detail, or a bodyguard. A bodyguard sounds a little more romantic. And I got into the camp. I had a little BlackBerry. This is when BlackBerries were the thing. And I was ready. I was ready to get some testimony and start talking to people and find out why they were here, what was going on. Because Amnesty International had just declared the Sri Lankan government for war crimes. They were detaining and holding Tamil people against their will. They were calling it a criminal act. Aid agencies were doing the same. The UN sent an envoy to Sri Lanka, but they were not allowed in to the camps. They were held, or rather they were stationed a few hundred feet away from the camp, hoping to get in at some point. So they were a little confused how this young boy got in. But I started entering the camp. And what was so frightening and deeply disturbing and difficult to explain was the number of women and young girls that came up to me, that just rushed me the moment I entered in. Elderly women, young girls. One elderly woman just completely took up all her space right in front of me. She placed her frail hand on my left wrist, and she had this silent, dark resignation in her eyes, and she asked, "What am I still doing here? Do I look like a terrorist to you? Do I look like I killed somebody?" I was silent for a moment, not knowing what to offer her in that moment. And I just said, "No, Amma, you do not look like a terrorist." There was weeping, there was begging, there was holding on, and it was very difficult to have to tear myself away from that camp. But when I got back to Colombo, the main city, the capital of Sri Lanka, I had found out that my blog had been dismantled. I found out that somebody had known that I had gotten into these camps. My BlackBerry was confiscated, and they had found out a whole lot about me that made it very difficult to leave the island. The whole point of doing this was to bring this information back home so that I could share it with the local people, with the diaspora, and find out how I can give testimony to these women. Because one of the things that elderly woman asked me to do, she had me make her a promise. She said, "I'm begging you, you have to give testimony. You have to tell them we're in here. You have to tell them we don't belong here." And I looked her dead in the eyes, and I said, "I will. I will do that for you." But the truth is, I didn't. So this is truly the anti-hero story. I don't identify with heroism or a tale of heroism in this instance because I failed. So I don't know how I'm standing up here, because I'm here under the premise of telling the hero's journey or hero's story. But I failed. I wasn't able to write about it. I was strong-armed into silence and hushed for 9 years. This is the first time I am telling this story. And there is a reason why you don't have any slides up here, because there are none to show you. But my point is, we have to tell our stories. Yes, it took me 9 years to shake off this fear or angst or crippling fear, I suppose. But I'm here to tell you we have to tell our stories. We have to give testimony for the message that's encoded inside of us. We have to speak the message that people aren't yet ready to receive. And this is only one of 1,000 stories, right? There are many women around the globe that will not have this kind of access to stand in front of you and give testimony for their stories or their war stories. Women of Afghanistan, Syrian women, women in Sierra Leone, women of India. You have to speak your story. Be brave enough to speak, not because they are the voiceless, but because you have a voice. Arundhati Roy said something to the effect, and I'm paraphrasing, that there is no voiceless, that there is the preferably unheard or the deliberately silenced. So if we don't speak our truth and give testimony for that message, then we all lose out, right? So we have to speak up in fear of the fear, in spite of the fear, in spite of the backlash, in spite of the not good enoughness. So I'm here to tell you, let's tell our truth. Let's speak our stories. Thank you, and may peace be your journey.
The Hero Roundtables are the global events that ask the question, what is a hero? You've just seen one hero talk. To find more and join the conversation, visit our website or social media.